Dar Chapter 11. Preparations. 2 nights after the ceremony, the moon was still absent from the night sky. Dar was between worlds. His childhood was over. The making of the morning fire was no longer his job. A younger boy had taken his place. But Dar could not participate as an adult in the life of his clan until the dark of the moon had passed. The shaman had forbidden all food during this waiting period. Dar had never been without food for so long, and there was a dull ache in his stomach. His man mark was painful, but when he was alone, he looked at the mark and admired the slightly raised striped design. By the summer, the mark would whiten and stand out against his brown arm. On the 3rd night, Dar saw a thin crescent moon in the sky. The wait was over. The moon had been reborn, and now his new life as an adult could begin. Dar ate the evening meal in famished gulps. While the clan people were still gathered around the fire listening to the shaman tell a favorite legend, Dar returned to his tent. He built a small fire in the hearth and took down the reed basket that held his few possessions. The new fur boots his grandmother had made for him would be useful on his journey to the stranger's camp. Dar looked closely at 3 flint spear points he had made under Keenock's impatient instruction. They were thick and clumsy. He knew he must do better. He looked again at 2 of his carvings he had thought were good enough to keep. Compared to the horse on Torag's spear thrower, his animals were stiff and lifeless. He threw them in the fire, but could not look as they burned. At the bottom of the basket, he found his father's bone bracelet. He pushed it up to his upper arm, but his muscles were not developed enough to hold it. The bracelet slipped down his arm and fell off. Mora entered the tent as Dar was transferring the spear points and new boots into his shoulder pouch. His first impulse was to hide the pouch from her, but he resisted. "What are you doing, Dar?" Mora asked. Dar touched his man mark. "I no longer need Uncle's permission to go, so I'm leaving tomorrow before sunrise to find the stranger's camp." He tried to sound confident. "I'm going to trade my sunstone for the stranger's spear thrower." Mora studied his face. Hers was full of worry. "How far is this stranger's camp?" "I'm not sure," Dar said. "He drew a map in the dirt for me. It might take 10 days to get there. I think the camp is in a valley between 2 mountains with a large lake nearby." Mora frowned when he mentioned the lake. "How do you know you can trust this man or his people?" she asked, not waiting for an answer. "Many years ago, when my brother was a young man, hunting was poor. He decided to go scouting for a new campsite with good game nearby. I heard my father warn him about a fierce clan that lived near a lake. They looked like animals and didn't even live in tents." Mora had tears in her voice. "My brother left and never returned. You could be going to the same clan that killed my brother." Dar stood up and noticed for the first time that he was the same height as his grandmother. "You don't know that he was killed by another clan, or even if he was going in the same direction as the clan your father warned him about." "You may be right," Mora said, "but I fear for you and for myself. I do not want another loss." "I can take care of myself," Dar said, and returned to his packing. "Don't tell Uncle about my plan. Don't tell anyone." Mora shook her head with irritation. "Keenock will suspect I know where you've gone." She waited for a response, but Dar was silent. "I'll leave food for your journey by your sleep robe." Mora turned quickly to leave the tent, but not before Dar saw that her eyes were filled with tears. Dar was suddenly overcome with exhaustion and lay down on his bedding. Because he would leave his clan tomorrow, Dar was conscious of the warmth of his heavy robes and the comfort of the snug tent. He breathed in a mixture of smoke, fur, and human smells he would miss. The last thing Dar heard before he fell asleep was the lulling sound of singing coming from the fire pit.